back to you.
Awesome, thank you. So we're actually going to hand the floor over to JL and Thomas and Ahmed to give us a whistle-stop tour and a tiny little bit of Q&A, hopefully, about SOS project. Yeah.
Thank you. I want to introduce two good friends, Thomas and Ahmed, who have been in a journey with us. It is a journey of discovery of how we can together change the lives of many children by empowering their caregivers with better information to educate them, to make them grow into the best adults they can be. That journey is a digital journey. It's a journey where SOS took a bold bet to join the Center for Digital Nonprofit into an idea journey, which at the time was called Dream Design Deliver, and brought their staff together in a wonderful retreat in the Austrian Alps to think together on how we could change the world. That was a few years ago, and today, this is continuing and advancing. And I want to give the voice to Thomas and Ahmed to present where they're at and what they're doing.
Thank you, Jael, for the introduction. If we have some slides, it's now the time to beam them up.
Shall I share the screen by Thomas? Okay.
Right.
All right.
Good.
It's on the way.
Yeah. So it's about digital transformation for the field. When we look at our strategy 2030 and our plan, what we want to achieve in the next years, then the priority 5, digitalize SOS, is our guiding star. And there we wrote into very explicitly that we don't want to innovate also in only in fundraising and in back office, but we want to go very strongly towards the children and towards the co-workers who work with the children and digitalize them. And so we were looking for a kind of innovation workshop because we wanted to have really fresh and new ideas from the field. And there was the place where we, so to say, found together to the center of the digital NGO and the idea workshops, because Jael and his people at that time organized these idea workshops. It was in spring 2019. I think we were in the first tranche of NetHope members which participated there. And the great thing there was that they promised, with heavy Microsoft sponsoring, to have really, really great facilitators there. And this is why I dared then to invite our CEO. I dared to invite our global program manager. And we also saved some money via this Microsoft sponsoring for the facilitators so that we could invite really program people from the field, from the ground into this workshop. So we had I think a number of a team of 18 people, very diverse from around the globe, which went into this workshop. And we came up with 4 ideas, all kind of ideas for innovating projects to really digitally transform the support for our program participants and for the field workers who work with these participants. And one of these ideas is in implementation now. We are already in pilot testing in ESAF, and 2 or 3 other ideas are in the pipeline to be evaluated this year and the next year. It's a crowdsourcing tool for content creation, which harmonizes nice with our Rafiki program. And it's another program which will then be put on top, so to say, of our program database, to make the work of our caregivers there even more easier. But today we are talking about the Rafiki, what we is the synonym for our digital care assistant. It's a chatbot which is directed towards our caregivers in the field. And for this, I'm introducing Ahmed Mihaimeed, which most of you know anyway, to tell us a little bit about this program.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Greetings, colleagues, participants from the NetHope world. So I'll be taking you through a bit of information and background about Rafiki project. The name Rafiki should sound familiar. So those who have watched The Lion King, ideally, I mean, you know, the very, very wise guy in The Lion King who has all the knowledge. And now applying that similar approach to our chatbot, we said Rafiki, which is in the local language in Kenya, in Swahili, it means my friend or my companion. We said that our project should be the wise friend and companion of the parents, the caregivers that SOS is supporting in their journey to become better. So in the spirit, more or less, of what Thomas have just spoken about, we wanted digital transformation to be toward the program participants. And the key focus which we wanted to start with Rafiki was, how can we transform the journey of the learning and development of the families and the community members which we are supporting? With that in mind, this is where we introduced Rafiki as our new and innovative tool for learning and development. Basically, it supports the community members, it supports the parents, the caregivers on the journey of improving in the different parenting area, as well as mental health. For us in SOS, that was kind of our first experience with the usage of chatbot and artificial intelligence. And this is where we say, well, it was an exciting journey, but on the other side, we were just like, let's see how does it go on that side. Now, why we wanted Rafiki as a product for our beneficiaries and our caregivers? We are dealing with various members who are based in rural communities. I mean, as most of the NGOs, we are trying to leave no one behind. We are trying to address the needs of the field. So those members of the community, they have limited access to quality and practical information. Basically, they are busy taking care of their families. They are busy attending whatsoever kind of issues on their daily life, making living, supporting their children. And often they are actually in remote locations where there are no means of training and development on that side. With last year also, we can add on top of that the restriction with the COVID, with all the limitation and the lockdown. So this is what added to the formula of the need to have a tool to continuously improve in terms of parenting. Now, for the SOS team, actually, like we drafted some ideas and some thoughts about what is it that we want in Rafiki. So we said Rafiki should not be something that works on computers. It should be work on phones, because the penetration of the phone is quite high in various places around the world. On the other side, we are kind of not dealing with the issues of having a computer, having internet, having power, and so on. Many people that are carrying the phone in their hands, then it makes life easy. Now, with that in mind, we said that we need a tool that works on simple phones. We don't need kind of sophisticated phones that requires high capacity processing and so on that side. Now, when it comes for the content, we said, well, the tool should simulate the human trainers. So basically, we need to bring the wealth of knowledge that we have as an organization. And SOS is around for the last 74 or 75 years. We have been purely focused on childcare. So we were just like, we need to make Rafiki as intelligent as possible by loading as much as possible training content and content in the different parenting area so that it could simulate the human being. Then the next is that how we could make it attractive. So we said, well, the chatting is there, but can we go one more step by having a voice to text functionality? So basically the user will talk to the chatbot using their own voice, they raise their own questions, and then they get the answers to these things. Last feature which we wanted to have is to give a bit of direction for our program administration people. What is in that? We wanted to give them KPIs that tells these are the topics with high interest. This is the different areas where the focus is across the users of Rafiki. So we worked with our field people on the ground. So we called for a workshop when we used to travel in the old days. So we gathered some people from Nigeria, Rwanda, Malawi, from our regional office in Ethiopia, and from Kenya. And then we start looking into what are the different training topics that we need to do. So the pedagogists, they have listed all what you see. I mean, they were just like, these are the training topics that we should try to empower and help the parents in the communities to learn and to know. And then we made a bit of an exercise of prioritization. It was simply not possible to have everything. I'll come to that later on when we speak about the challenge. The issue for us was about the content for each one of those areas in there. So we flagged some 6 or 7 thematic areas, and we said, yeah, this is where we will start the focus of Rafiki on them. Doing that, also, we started to kind of collect questions of what are the common questions that actually the parents in our programs are asking. So we could get a feeling more or less about the content that's going to be developed and how Rafiki interaction should be. I mean, like you could see here from the question, there are things about children's rights, child safeguarding, cyberbullying, food and nutrition. So it was quite diverse. Like they said, all those questions are very legitimate questions that the parents on the ground, they continuously ask. And if we give them a tool like Rafiki, it should answer to all these areas. So we have taken all those things, we packed it to our technical team who have been working closely also with Ahmed. to develop the minimum viable product. And these are kind of the features which we have created in Rafiki. So we created a tool that is accessible from any device. It works from the browser. It has, of course, the chit chat. And then we created what we call an SOS chit chat. So basically, the users could ask questions related to our own organizations. It's not only the hi, how are you doing? No, deep dive on SOS stuff in there. We wanted to offer different ways of learning. So either you could just type your own question, use the voice to ask question, or read some predefined frequently asked question. Two important feature which we wanted to implement is the content feedback, because we have been challenging ourselves how we can make Rafiki continuously better. So we wanted to offer the user a way of telling us that they liked the answer or they did not like an answer. And in conjunction with that, we said, what happens when a user have a question that we don't have an answer for it? So we wanted to have a feature that they could just ask an expert. They could just click a button and then it's kind of connect them or take their questions to the next level. And then the expert will take a look on that and come back with an answer to those ones. So these are just screenshots. I mean, time would be tight, I mean, to do a full demo, but that's something we could arrange perhaps with other working groups. So you would see, I mean, Rafiki is very friendly. I mean, it interacts with the caregivers which we are working with, giving them motivational quotes, telling them in a natural language, like I have interesting topics. So pick a topic that you want to learn on that one. You could see the microphone icon down there. I mean, they could just click on the microphone and then they speak directly to the tool. And then on the right picture, you see there the feedback box. So when they ask a question and they get the answer, they are able to say, yes, this was helpful or this was not helpful. Then our content expert, they will take a look on that, try to work and improve into the overall tool in there. Before I make a pause here, this is in the background, the analytics, which I was talking about. So Rafiki is connected to the Power BI platform of SOS. Then we are able to see clearly, like, how is it going in there? Which topics that have the higher focus, which one that has a lower focus, as a way of steering the program learning approach. Ideally, I mean, if you see here supporting teenager in family, it shows a 0, then the social workers, they would be able to say, hey, what's wrong here? Is it that the parents, they're not interested, or is it that the content is not good? On the other hand, we see that stress and anger management have scored the highest number of conversation. Then we know that there is an issue. Then we know that the need is very high. It's very burning. So we need to invest effort actually into building more content in that. Keeping this in mind, our idea is 24/7 learning in the hands of the parents in the community whenever they need that thing. Let me make a pause. I mean, I'm sure, I mean, like, since we have technical people on this call, we need to know a bit of the technicalities in the background. So let me bring to the spotlight Florian, our team leader of software development, to speak a little bit about the technology, and then I'll come back in there. Over to you, Florian.
Thank you, Ahmed. Hi, all. So members of my team actively participated in setting up this Rafiki bot, in feeding the content and doing all this algorithmic work. And even though it's very clear for us that Microsoft is our key technology partner of choice, we had two options. Either should we use the Power Virtual Agent or go with the full-fledged Microsoft bot framework. And in retrospective, we did some kind of comparison, and I just want to summarize why we choose the Microsoft bot framework and why we are happy and why we think that it's somehow future-proof. Just a rough overview between both. We had to invest, of course, more money, and we have to invest also in resources who are able to, from a software engineering perspective, assemble all these pieces together. This pays off quite well because we have a lot more flexibility with regards to maintainability, extensibility, and doing all these analytics things in the background. I do not dig too deep into this comparison. Maybe in the Q&A we have time to discuss some details there. But to summarize, we think, and this is all the comparison I do is a snapshot from today. We know that the backlog of the Microsoft Power Virtual Agent team is long. Yeah, and my gut feeling says that someone in the future there will be feature parity. But we think that the Power Virtual agent has its strength if you do want to showcase something very fast, if you want to have a proof of concept, or if you have static content, or you want to automate something based on user interaction. But for bigger applications concerning the bot technology, we think that the MS Spot framework together with the Azure Cognitive Services, and in our case on top with an umbrella framework from Avanade is really a perfect choice, because we had such a resource in place who had the expertise and was really keen in digging into this AI technology domain. And it was clear for us that we have to build this with scalability in mind. Scalability not only from a technical perspective, but it was obvious for us that we want to have localized content, that we want to have different languages in place. And the only way we saw was to have multiple Q&A maker instances, which get synchronized in one framework. It was key for us that we can learn from the interactions the users in the field do with the bot via analytics. I think this is a really great opportunity to see what people in the field are asking the bot and what are hot topics. And I think it's not, there is no faster way to get feedback from them via the Spot technology. And of course, we have a much wider view on this. The bot is one channel, but in the background, we want to embed all these content topic in an information management workflow to make it accessible to many channels. And one last point, this is which is important from the Avanade perspective. We benefit from their knowledge because they haven't built not only one bot but 100 bots already, and all this knowledge they assembled in their framework, and they promised us that this framework is built after best software engineering practices. And if the PVA has the same feature set than the existing technology, they will be able to put the PVA under the hood below their framework, and it's easy for us to exchange technology there. Thank you, Ahmed. Handing back to you.
Thank you, Florian. Yeah, so just a couple of things about where the journey got bumpy. I mean, usually when we do these presentations, we speak about the good things, but usually there are not good things that are happening in the background in there. So the journey got bumpy when we started to ask ourselves and challenge ourselves as organization, do we have the content on the right digital format? And I've just said, like, we've got 70 years of experience on parenting and the different childcare topics. But when I'm going to our program people and saying, hey guys, please, we need content that we will put in there, they were very busy sending me length of PDF documents, length of facilitator manuals and guidelines and so on. And I was just like, this is not what we need for the bot. The bot should give the parents an easy answer of what is this and how to do this. And this is where they start scratching their head and they were just like, no, we don't have that things. And this is here where we kicked off various rounds. We started with like one round of collecting content. Then we found out that the people focused on the definitions, on the what. And then we said, well, that's good for a start, but please go back now and make more focus on the how. So that was a second iteration. Then the next and the third iteration was how we make the bot intelligent by adding different formulations of the same questions. So we had to kind of play the English, but not, let's say, the office English, the field English. So asking or putting questions in a format that will be understandable by the users on the ground. COVID, of course, I mean, gave us a quite slowdown. I mean, in the old days, we used to do things on meeting room. We used to travel and more or less, yeah, looking around. But yeah, I mean, like with the COVID, it's not anymore in there. And yeah, the adventure of the new technology as it's in there. So this is my last slide. I mean, where are we today? So yeah, the project kickoff. I mean, we've done that. The MVP has been developed. So we took the MVP to 3 countries to do what we call the reality check. So basically, it's a small test with a small number of users to make sure this is the product that the end users are expecting. We are in the process now of making amendments on the MVP, and then we will proceed with a formal piloting, and hopefully in the year to come, then we go for a wider rollout. Let me hand over back to Thomas and JL to put their closing remarks.
Thomas, please.
Thank you, Ahmed, for the presentation. I mean, we are ready to take some questions. I don't know how much time we still have left, Jill.
We have about till another 3 or 5 minutes. We have a couple of questions that could come in. So if you put yourself out of mute and ask questions or put them in the chat, that would be much appreciated.
Jonathan, let's start with you because you put your hand up immediately. So keen.
Always keen. No, fantastic project. Really, really good to see this. Obviously a lot of the needs you've covered are needs that many of us have, which is getting training material out to the edge, and then understanding what is useful, and basically having that kind of feedback loop so we can adapt our training around what is needed. In terms of what you've built, is there any reuse beyond SOS Children's Village? Is there, ideally something that can be productized, but maybe be sort of short of that, some sort of open source code that's being shared, or even just some sort of white paper technical outline that would allow organizations looking at similar solutions to either build their own or look at partnerships to kind of productize some of the stuff you've built here?
I would say we are actually open for this and even interested also to collaborate further on this and also to open content for it. What we want to do first is, of course, have the pilot successful concluded. As Ahmed said, we are starting right now into the piloting phase in East and South Africa, and we want to develop a little bit further this crowdsourcing tool for the content creation. But in principle, of course, yeah.
Cool.
And we are NetHoppers, and we benefited from NetHop very much at the beginning, as I said, with this idea workshop. So I'm quite sure that without this workshop, we wouldn't be where we are now, because it was super helpful to convince also management with all these excellent consultants we had in there, helping us to move forward and helping to package something really interesting. So we would be happy, I think, to give back also a bit on this.
Carl, please.
Thanks. Just really appreciate SOS presenting to us. And again, to Jonathan's point, it does show the power, and maybe to Thomas's point, it does show the power of NetHope and the community working together. Maybe just one question to Ahmed. Just help me to understand how you incorporated the voice of the caregiver or the parent into the content that you created, or is that part of the AI piece? Thanks.
All right, thank you, Carl. Yeah, I mean, like we had the first workshop when we wanted to define the content areas. I mean, this is here where we have reached out to field social workers. At that time, we say to the people in the country office, like, yeah, we appreciate all the great work, but we don't want to listen to you. We want to listen to the people who really deal and interact as much as possible with the beneficiaries. So we work closely with our field teams, we work closely with our social workers. And then even during this reality check process, we said the testing, it should be done by real end users on the field. So this is where we've given even some KPIs. We've got the analytics in the background, which showed us what kind of questions they are asking, what kind of things that they could not find answer for. So altogether, this is what we have incorporated to make sure that the voice of the field is well reflected when it comes for the content design. I hope this answers for you, Carl.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much, Ahmed.
Okay.
Because this is actually what we want. It's on one of the underlying goals. We want content from peers to peers. We want to foster this peer exchange, and we want to build this crowdsourcing tool on top of the bot, which helps people asking questions and getting the answers from the peers, not from the ivory tower, from the peer, maybe in the same country or maybe in a neighbor country. So this is one of our big goals behind it. It's not the bot alone, not only the user interface we want to improve here, but this kind of down-to-earth, peer-to-peer knowledge exchange, because the real experts always sit down there somewhere, and not in the ivory tower.
So thank you very much to Thomas, to Ahmed, to Florian, and those who have asked questions. This is just to show you what happens when you start to imagine digitally, when you start to designing a solution, and then when you move that forward to reality. I'm sure the team at SOS would be happy to field out questions afterwards if they come to mind. I'll turn back to Diana and to continue the meeting. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for presenting the Whistle Stop tour. That was very cool.